thought I'd just cover three reasons your website is maybe failing and, how you can fix those. And the reason this is so important is the website's pretty much a 24/7 salesperson for you. And unlike something like social media, which is fantastic for posting on and putting content out, actually you own your website. You can adjust it. If the social media platform banned you or you got locked out or whatever, you've still got your website. And, I think it really is there still to this day to demonstrate just a slight level of professionalism, depending on what industry you're in. It just gives you that little bit of credibility. But not everyone's website performs as they want it to. And what do I mean by failing? Well, that's just failing to meet whatever it is you expect from your website. Some people want inquiries, some people want purchases, some people want downloads of a product guide. Whatever the goals are, if you're not getting what you feel you should be getting from something that is working 24/7, then to me it's failing. So there's a couple of things I think you should have a look at. First of all, the UX and the UI. So just to explain the difference, UX is user experience, and it's how easy it is to navigate around and find things. And UI is how it looks. And UI should obviously highlight and also complement the user experience. They are different, but I think they, clearly should work together. And I'm sure over the years, if anyone's used some really old software, you might know that actually it looks really old and dated, but it's really simple and really nice to use. And that's showing a good user experience, but obviously an outdated UI. But equally, we've probably all landed on websites that you land on. You think, oh, this looks flashy, but then you can't find what you're looking for. And that is then having good UI, but a bad user experience. So I think you need to look both of them. The reason user interface is so important, 92 people have said cluttered layouts would make them switch to a competitor. We need to remove that cluttered, that clunkiness, any clunkiness within a site, anything that makes us just feel a little bit uncomfortable, we're more likely to disappear and go somewhere else. And we get it in shops, don't we, at Christmas? It's just there's too many people, there's too much going on, there's Christmas music blaring, it's too much. We're, certainly for myself, I just want to walk out. So how do you reduce some of that? And I mean, there's some amazing images that I found online of websites. I mean, the clutteredness on that, this was literally me when I first saw that. But equally, you can take websites, and this is something we're working on, locally. You might have heard of it, but Hastings Musical Festival, this is their current site. There's just so much going on in that menu. You're sort of, what am I meant to click? There's a lack of sort of hierarchy, and we've started to redesign it like this. It's actually got exactly the same content and the same menu items, just positioned slightly differently so that it's nice and clear. So how do you fix if you think you've got a UI or a UX problem? Well, first of all, simplify the navigation. That's really key. You need to make it really clear where people need to go. If you're given too many choices, it's like being a kid with the Argos catalogue at Christmas back in the 80s. You want everything, and you end up not knowing what to circle. You need to make it really, really simple and really, really clear. Obviously, ensure it's mobile responsive. We're 2024 now. We don't really need to talk about mobile responsiveness, but the majority of sites are. But just make sure it presents a really good situation. Actually, I was on a website yesterday. I was actually on the UK government website looking up, bizarrely, the colour code for a red road close sign. I wanted to know exactly what the red was. And it was all in a table. And the table on your mobile went off the screen. And it was just frustrating. So make sure it works on a mobile. Clean, minimalistic design. Now, minimalistic and clean doesn't necessarily mean dull. I just mean make it really easy for people to find their information. And it doesn't mean that you have to look the same as everyone else. I often compare this to, if you were designing a car. Now, actually, if you watch a 5-year-old draw a car, they draw the wheels and that sort of box shape, it's a car, even though every car is different. And the same, you can get in a car and the steering wheel is in front of you, the pedals are down on the floor. Most of us can drive most cars because we understand how they operate. and it's the same with your website. Doesn't mean it has to be the same as everyone else, but follow some standards so that people can very clearly and easily operate it. It'd be like picking up a book and the text just went across every page rather than, the left page and the right page. We like certain standards. Not every book's the same, but the way it's formatted is. So on your website, you want to be looking at your logo in your top left, and then your navigation over to the right. Ideally, the end one should be the sort of contact or get in touch, or whatever it is, that sort of book a place, something like that on the far right. That's sort of the way our eyes go. And finally, treat every page like a landing page. Actually, when I say every page apart from the home page. Your home page is sort of a filter page. People land on it, and then you want to get them to the right area as quickly as possible. For anyone who offers multiple services, your homepage is literally just a page where you want to get people to one of the other pages as quickly as possible. And by treating it like a landing page is a page that has one specific goal. And if you've got a specific service, you need to talk about that service, tell people the benefit of that service, and tell people how they can book that service, or buy that product. Keep it really, really specific. You don't want people getting too distracted. And that's why, I regularly say, actually linking your social media with your website can potentially be really important. I wouldn't necessarily want to chuck people off my website to social media really quickly, certainly early on in that stage, because as we all know, they end up on Instagram, and before you know it, they're looking at cat videos rather than what it is that they originally started, which was looking at your website. So try and keep people on your site. So once you've got them and you've made that great first impression because they think, yeah, the site looks good, I can navigate around this nice and easily, then we need to look at your messaging. So the really important thing here is that you need to have all your messaging based around being understood and not to say clever. I often say it simple, take grammatically simply, but I just like say it simple. So rather than things like I can't even say the word customer-centric approach, just we put customers first. Make it clear. Maximize value-add outcomes, get the best results. Synergize cross-functional teams. And I'm sure you've, heard of or seen some of this sort of corporate text that we see, but we help teams work together. When you write really, really complicated stuff, it's like, what? And a visitor, as well as that first visual impression, they need to understand what you do in less than 5 seconds. Do you actually serve or solve the problem that someone has? And people need to be able to, read and clearly see. So vague jargon versus a clear value proposition. Rather than we deliver integrated solutions for forward-thinking organizations leveraging innovation, that's something I could write about my company, but actually we help businesses grow by designing websites that attract customers and drive sales. If your messaging is not clear and it's confusing, you very often end up losing the customer. Now there is a slight addition I will add to this is make sure that the language you use is relevant for the audience that you serve. So there will be certain industries where you need to use certain types of language because that is what they're looking for, certainly in some of the professional services. And equally, depending on what you are, if you're in healthcare, then you're probably going to be talking about patients and things like that. If you're just a business, you might be talking about customers. So depending on where you are, if you're in education, you might be talking students. So use the right terminology based on your target audience. A great way to work out what tone of voice you should be using, just listen to your customers. Or listen to your ideal customers. I'm sure we've all got customers who aren't our ideal customer, but listen to those ideal customers. How do they speak? What language do they use? And follow that. Now, the next one, call to actions. Now, this is really important because if you've got someone who's landed on the website, it looks really good, your messaging's nice and clear, well, you need to tell them what they're meant to do. And there's several ways to do this. And I always say stop with the boring. Call to actions should really entice people. The majority of people on a website will just be browsing, but you can help encourage them. So rather than just learn more, use words like discover. It adds a bit more intrigue, a bit more action. And then if you've got room, rather than discover how we can help, and then ideally add some clarity about what they discover how we can help you achieve your goals. Now that's quite a big, you probably wouldn't want that on a button, but you'd want it above a button, and then maybe a get started on the button. But yeah, rather than learn more, try and add certainly some action words, but then, use some really strong call to actions. One of the ones, submit, submit's really boring. Get your free quote now is a great way. Again, adding that now, well, get your free quote shows what they're going to get. Now tells them when to do it. Rather than sign up, join our community. If you can, add a number on there, adds a little bit of social proof. And rather than just download your free guide. And tell them what they're going to get, and actually really add some value to that if you can. So download your free guide to boost sales. What is the value of doing something? Generally, I was giving some feedback on a site a few days ago, and their newsletter said something like, we'd love to stay in touch. Please sign up to our newsletter. And I sort of said to them, well, I'm sure you would love to stay in touch, but why do I want you to stay in touch? And very often when you write a little bit of marketing, ask or write a benefit that you offer, just say, so what on the end, and try to really delve into, act like a bored, moody teenager who isn't interested, and just keep asking those questions so you can really delve into the actual value that you're able to offer. So, some tips on call to actions, include clear benefits. Learn or submit is a little bit vague, what's actually in it for them. If you're able to add some urgency, then do. It just encourages people to take that action there and then. A lot of e-commerce stores are really good at this. Amazon's great at this, and 7 people bought this in the last hour, and there's only 5 left. It just adds that bit of, oh, actually I better get it now. And action orientated language, get, start, join, discover, claim. And if you can, incorporate some social proof or incentives, numbers, discount on the newsletter. Ideally, if you can write, join 10,000 other business owners who receive our newsletter, or join 10,000, whatever it is, whoever your target audience is, to people. But if not, join, you don't have to use a number, just join loads of business, or join business owners like you who also get this. None of us want to feel like we're the only ones. So try and incorporate a bit of social proof. And while I said, there was 3 tips today, I am going to add a bonus because of that slide, and that is proof. Now, when someone's on your website, chances are you have written about how good you are, how great you are, and how brilliant it's going to be working with you. Essentially, you need to add some proof that you can do this. So some case studies. And I spoke about landing pages earlier on. A great way to build a landing page is, first of all, answer the question, as in, we can solve the problem that you've got. So someone's searching, they've landed on your site. You've got to say, yes, we can do it. Then ideally, you want to add in some proof that you can do it by showing a case study, or something along those lines. And then, if you can, even better, add a bit of social proof on, and this is what the person said how good it was when I worked with them, then that just adds that little bit of trust. But you really do need to prove that you can do what you say you're going to do. Anyone who goes networking regularly will know everyone stands up and says how good they are. The only way we can really separate people is via reviews and seeing the proof of what they're doing. So the little checklist for today: make sure your site looks professional. It's got to visually look great, because it's that first impression. When someone lands on it, boom, they look like they know what they're doing. Then make it really easy to navigate so that people can find what they're looking for. Explain what you do in simple language. Very much So in the UK, we're taught to,
Well,
write and speak to
right.
sound clever rather than to be understood. But you need to make sure all the language you use is to be understood. And then, finally, just encourage them to take an action. People do need a little bit of guidance on this. I'm not talking about pushy sales. I'm just saying, tell people why they should click something, why they should do it, and the benefit they're gonna get. So that's all I've got for you today.